Yes, ma'am. I'm ready. Okay.
Yes, we'll start. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're from. I welcome you all back to session 12 of day 6 on research writing, dimensions and remedies in plagiarism of the 7-day online international faculty development program on language and literature, a pragmatic approach. I welcome Dr. Sarvanan, our principal and patron of the program, Dr. Shakila Matthew, Dean Academics and Head Department of English and the convener of the program, Mr. Logesh Kumar S., Administrative Officers, members of the Faculty of English of VET Institute of Arts and Science, and the teaching fraternity of English language and literature from around the world to the session. I take much pride in welcoming Dr. Fayyaz Ahmed H. Ilkal. A dream for a student truly begins when a teacher believes in him or her. Today's resource person, Dr. Fayyaz Ahmed H. Ilkal, not only helps students dream, but also helps in synthesizing their dream into a reality by teaching beyond the classroom. Dr. Fayyaz Ahmed is an assistant professor in local head Department of Studies and Research in English, Rani Channamma University, PG Center, Torri, Vijayapura, Karnataka. A complete optimist who believes in the power of ideas and words, backed by some path-breaking deeds and actions, he has learned to integrate thematic units, generate independent thought, improve reading and writing skills, and instill a love for literary and literacy in students. His astonishing ardor in research led him to earn his doctorate from Karnataka University, Dharwad. His foray into the larger impact of teaching, learning, and improvisation has helped him present papers in 16 national and international conferences and publish 10 research articles in refereed national and international journals within a short stint of 7 years of teaching experience. His scholastic skills enabled him to be a fecund member of English Study Circle of South Africa and Indian Society for Commonwealth Studies. His academic acumen has made him an excellent leader and organizer in motivating the students to get the real world life. Research is formalizing curiosity and creating new knowledge. Today, Dr. Fayyaz will acquaint us with ethics in research writing. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, and then good morning and good evening to the people and the participants across the globe. At the outset, I would like to extend my gratitude to the management of VET Institute of Arts and Science E-Road, and then the principal, Shakila Matthews, and then the organizing secretary, Kavita K, and the other management people around in this FDP or IFDP, to put it rightly. So the topic which I'll be dealing with today is ethics in research writing, dimensions and remedies in plagiarism. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible. We can see your video and presentation as well.
Yes, thank you. So now the ethics in research writing is a burning issue now, and especially to all of them, because due age and since there has been a flood of technology and so many apps, we have to keep ourselves updated, and the challenges we keep on facing day in and day out. So I thought that this will be the topic which I should speak, and I should address a larger public. And I will also, I'm very much happy to know that almost 1,800 participants have registered. So now my voice will be heard to many across the globe. And I wholeheartedly thank the management for providing me an opportunity to reach such a larger public. I have prepared one PPT, which will also be able to put forth my idea about this topic in a much better way. So you must have seen this disclaimer in the movies and short web series and all those things, wherein they say that it is a way of acknowledging the original work. And I have already mentioned here that this document, which contains some of the material from Google document, images as well. So some of these may perhaps be copyrighted. They are included here for educational non-commercial purposes and are considered to be covered by the doctrine of fair use. So when this fair use fails, plagiarism comes to fill the gap over there. So the outline of my presentation is what is research and ethics, importance of ethics in research, plagiarism, conclusions, and so many things I will be discussing, which I have not put it here. As in how the lecture progresses, you will come to know. So here I have taken two definitions about research ethics. What is research? So most of us, we think of doing research, but while doing research, we forget about this ethic kind of a thing. So now, what is ethic? You will find number of references, number of definitions in Google and throughout internet at various platforms, as well as in dictionaries and then encyclopedias. But I have just picked two definitions over here, which gives you a clear and exact picture about what research ethics mean. So here, ethics is the disciplined study of morality, and morality asks the question, what should one's behavior be? And I have taken it from Jeff Cooper, Albany Medical Center Ethical Decision Making 2000, which was published in the year 2001, page number 1. And then one more definition which says, in academic writing, it is considered plagiarism to draw any idea or any language from someone else without adequately crediting that source in your paper. So it is taken from Harvard Guide to Using Sources. So here the source can be both published or unpublished, which fall under this criteria or category. So now again, what is research and ethics? And how, whether they are different or they are together. Research is an organized and systematic investigation of a phenomenon by using sound methods and procedures in order to find solutions to problems affecting humanity. So why we take up research? There are so many reasons. Everyone have their own reasons to take up research. And I firmly believe that research has to be, so we can't separate ethics with research. And then what is ethics? Ethics is nothing but norms of conduct or behavior that distinguishes right from wrong or acceptable or unacceptable behavior, especially in research. So in order to further throw much more light upon the importance and significance of research ethics, I have picked up one essay written or one article written by David Rensick in the year 2011, wherein he has dealt with this concept, why research is important, irrespective of whichever discipline you may be, whether science, humanities, or social sciences. So here he discusses that the things which prohibits and the things which prevents are fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. So these three concepts I will be dealing in much detail in the further slides. And in promotion of research values, trust plus accountability plus respect plus fairness. This is very, very much important in research. As well as other than this, accountability to the public and enable public support. So what you're doing, you're not writing it for self, but whatever you write, it goes into public domain. So you're answerable to the public. So that's why ethics plays a very, very important role over there, because you're accountable and you are answerable. And then moral and social values, human, animal rights, social responsibility, so on and so forth. So whichever area you may be pursuing your research, these things are very, very important for a free and fair research. Recognition of research codes of conduct. Honesty should be there, objectivity should be there, integrity, carefulness, transparency, share respect for IP, confidentiality, responsible, publication, respect for colleagues, social responsibility, and to avoid discrimination, competence, legality, protection of human and animal, and so forth and so forth. So now this has been a disease, I can say, and it has been a problem throughout the world, and the governments and the universities and the higher education ministries have been passing and making laws and rules a time and again. So I have taken up one example of annotations which are coming up, which are disturbing me. Yeah, UGC's Code of Professional Ethics 2018, especially UGC's University Grants Commission, which has been set up by Higher Education of Government of India. So there, 17.0 Code of Professional Ethics, UGC Regulations 2018, it says, teachers and their responsibilities. It has issued directives to the teachers at what they have to follow and what are the professional ethics. It is, they have not spared even librarians as well. Librarians as so the first point there, they have clearly mentioned that one has to adhere to a responsible pattern of conduct and demeanor expected of them by the community. Because as I have already said that we are answerable to the community and to the society and to the world at large. Seek to make professional growth continuous through study and research, because we will be setting an example for the next generation or to our contemporaries as well, or our predecessors as well. So, and we have to express free and frank opinion by participation at professional meetings, seminars, conferences, etc., towards the contribution of knowledge, and then perform their duties in the form of teaching, tutorials, practices, so on and so forth. So now I have highlighted there, they have stressed on to discourage and not indulge in plagiarism and other non-ethical behavior in teaching and research, both as well. And I have given from where I have taken this source as well. So this is how we have to follow professional ethics as well as ethics in research, by giving quotations from where you have taken. And then plagiarism versus copyright infringement. So most of them, they fail to understand what is plagiarism and what is copyright infringement. Most of them think that, okay, plagiarism, it's okay. And if it is 10%, 20%, we will be given a chance, and then we can work upon it. And then we can paraphrase, we can change sentences, we can do this and that, and then put forth and then get it published or get it submitted. And then copyright infringement is something different to plagiarism. Copyright infringement is copying some material, some information, some quotation, some para from a particular text which has been under copyright. And you have to be very, very careful in taking up or quoting those things. And I have made some 4 points. They are not the same. Plagiarism is a false claims of authorship. So in place of someone who has written already, and you are claiming that it is being authored by you, and then the content of which authorship is being falsely claimed may or may not be protected by copyright. So this is where the difference happens. So some of them, they may be not be patented, or they may not be copyrighted. So their plagiarism plays a very important role over there. And some of them which are being copyrighted, it's an infringement. I will go into detail later about it. And then copyright infringement is unauthorized use of copyrighted material. There are 3 types of research misconduct. So plagiarism, fabrication, and falsification. So there are 3 types of research misconduct, which has been called as plagiarism, fabrication, falsification, which I had already explained earlier. So what is plagiarism? It is an appropriation of another person's ideas. What we are doing, we are just taking up the concept or the ideas put forth and worked upon by someone else, and we just pick it and we claim that it is ours. And it is one form is the appropriation of the ideas and results of others and publishing as to make it appear the author had performed all the work under which the data was obtained. A subset is citation, plagiarism, willful or negligent failure to appropriately credit other or prior discoverers so as to give an improper impression of priority. And then fabrication. So it's very, very important to understand the difference between plagiarism, fabrication, and falsification. As I told you, plagiarism is claiming that that a particular work is written by not that person, but by me. And the fabrication makes up results and recording of reporting them. This is sometimes referred to as dry labbing. A more minor form of fabrication is where references are included to give arguments, the appearance of widespread acceptance, but are actually fake and or do not support the argument. Sometimes we feel, so most of them I have seen that they just put references for the sake of putting references. So there will be no link at all wherever you have quoted, whether it may be a project or a thesis or a dissertation or a research paper. Got it. So it's been called as dry labeling. And then falsification. Falsification is manipulating research materials, equipment, or processes, or changing or omitting data, or results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research record. So these are the three types of research misconduct. And then common forms of plagiarism. Other than those three types, you can see forms of plagiarism. First is copying from a source without acknowledging it. Just imagine if someone else takes your source and then he doesn't acknowledge how it will feel like. Using someone else's ideas without referring to the author. And then it is just like disrespecting his work. And then improper paraphrasing. He means something, but you have misinterpreted and you have misquoted that original author. And then presenting someone else's work as your own. So these are the common forms of plagiarism. Other than that, submitting someone's work as their own, taking passages from their own previous work without adding citations. So what happens? Sometimes you work upon a particular area or a particular aspect. So what do? You keep on developing it in one article, second article. So that should be avoided. And then rewriting someone's work without properly citing sources, using quotations but not citing the source, interweaving various sources together in the work without citing some but not all passages that should be cited. Excuse me. So melding together cited and uncited sections of the piece, providing proper citations but fails to change the structure and wording of the borrowed ideas enough. Inaccurately citing the source, relying too heavily on other people's work, fails to bring original thought into the text. And the source which I have taken is from Wikipedia. So some of them, they fall in the trap of their own self-plagiarism. So one has to avoid this. I have tried to explain it through an animation, a cartoon. So this is the evolution of intellectual freedom. So during grade school, what we do, I am going to research whatever I want. And then in graduate student, when you become a graduate student, you say, I am going to research whatever my professor wants because you are very much enthusiastic. And then after that, I am going to research whatever my tenure committee wants when you become an assistant professor. And then tenured professor, I am going to research whatever my grant committee wants. And then finally, emeritus professor, I am going to research whatever. And then research in peace. Knowingly or unknowingly, we will be following it. And then how to avoid self-plagiarism. So many writers, they think that they can do anything with the information they have created and use it multiple times in different situations, as I said earlier as well. And then sometimes we will be not knowing that someone else has written a work on this and someone else has thrown a light upon this. Earlier it was very difficult because the approach, and we had our own limited sources, but now the entire globe is on the two tips of the finger, and now you can easily get information as to whether work has been done on this area or not. You can easily identify, and you can go for an honest research following all the ethics. And then the reason for such thinking is that the action cannot be defined as plagiarism because no words or ideas are taken from other authors. That is what we presume or assume. And later we come to know that someone else has already written and done work from this perspective, from this area. So it's very, very important for us all to think about it, whether the work has been done or not on that. And it should be a new area as well. And then one more cartoon I have taken about self-plagiarism. Oh no, I forgot to do my science fair project and it's due tomorrow. Maybe I could just reuse last year's. Good idea. I mean, who's gonna know? Using old assignments is plagiarism. When you cheat, you are only cheating yourself. I will discuss in detail about this. And then when do you cite? So sometimes we are in dilemma. We read something, some quotation or some argument written by another author, and then after that our mind starts thinking, and we start thinking in a new perspective or in a new direction. And at that time, we feel, oh, this is my thought. So I have been thinking about this area from a different perspective. So whether I should cite it or not, if I cite, what will happen? If I not cite, what will happen? So sometimes we just try to cut down the number of references. What if there are number of references? Then again, my paper will not be accepted. So all these things are there in their mind. So I have taken one writer, Monash. In his book, he has written, when do you need to cite and when do you need to refer? You can just make a note of it and then you can just find out whether it is there or not. So according to the author, copy text from another source. So when you have to cite or refer, when you copy text from another source, so each and every word and each and every sentence, when you copy, it should be put into quotation and then it has to be mentioned over there. It should be cited. The more number of citations, the more value you get to your paper and to your work. Discuss another person's ideas in your own words. Include a table or a diagram from another source. Write about something you know you have read somewhere but can't remember where. So sometimes this is also a big dilemma. We think that we have read this somewhere, but we are unable to trace it out from where we had read it, from where I should retrieve the information about this. So that is where we fail. But then, without knowing, we should not cite. We should not put it into our writing. We should not claim that it has been authored by me or by us. And then paraphrase the ideas from different sources, linking them together with your own words. So whenever you do these things, you have to cite and you have to refer. And then when do you cite? Another diagram. So did you think of it? Yes or no? If you had thought yes, then do not cite it. If no, it is common knowledge. Everyone knows it. Yes, do not cite it. No, cite it. So this is it's a dilemma in all of us minds. So one has to be very, very clear about this. And where do I start? So sometimes, including me as well. So we feel that it has been an original. I have tried to avoid plagiarism as much as possible. If you read this, you will find even 5% of plagiarism. But then I have just picked up one cartoon in order to throw some light upon and remove the confusion among the academicians. So where do I start? Plagiarism, either accidental or intentional. Sometimes what happens, it becomes accidental without knowing it happens. And then it usually brings at the note-taking stage of writing process. If information is plagiarized in your notes, it can be easily be transferred into plagiarized material in your final paper. You can eliminate accidental plagiarism by taking careful notes and giving credit for the other people's words and ideas. Statistical information, graphics or drawings, you can eliminate intentional plagiarism by being ethical and honest and allowing enough time for researching and writing an assignment. So I will be discussing about this also. What causes, what are the reasons for plagiarism? I would like to show you one particular animated video in order to which shows there are 5 steps to avoid plagiarism that will help you in order to understand.
Stealing someone else's ideas. Plagiarism is something we hear about often, but do we really know what it means? You might hear the word used by your professor as part of a warning and something you should avoid. But how do you do this? Let's take a look. First, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism occurs when a writer uses someone else's language, ideas, or other original material without acknowledging its source. Whether you intend to or not, you are stealing someone else's ideas. Here's an example. You're writing a paper for your English class and you find a great quote from a book that fits perfectly into your paper.
Yay!
You copy and paste the paragraph into your paper, but you don't give credit to the source. This is plagiarism. To avoid plagiarizing or passing someone else's intellectual property off as your own, be sure to include a citation after the quote. Plagiarism can be either intentional or unintentional, so we need to look at ways to avoid being an information thief. Here are 5 easy steps to help you avoid plagiarism. Number 1, use original ideas and opinions. Write your own thoughts and explanations regarding your research topic. If you do need to use information from another source, be sure it is relevant. And if you do use it, make sure you cite it. Number 2, paraphrase. When you're using information from a source, it's a good idea to put it into your own words. However, you still need to cite the source even though you're paraphrasing. Information that is common knowledge, for example, the sky is blue, does not need to be cited. Number 3, cite your sources. As I've already said, you need to cite information that you get from a source. Whether it is from a book, journal article, blog, or website, you need to cite it. Here's an example of a citation. In the parentheses, you can see that both the publication year and page number are given. There are different ways of doing this depending on the citation style you're using. Sometimes it can be difficult to tell when a citation is needed. When in doubt, cite it. Number 4, use quotation marks. If you're putting information into your paper that you took directly from a source, be sure to put quotation marks around that information. This tells the reader that you're quoting directly from your source.
Help!
Number 5, ask for help. If you're just not sure when and how to cite your information, ask for help. There are several options available to you to get help with your citations. If you're on campus, you can visit ACE. ACE is Southeastern's Academic Center for Enrichment. You can also ask a librarian such as myself, and you can even use online tools such as Purdue OWL's website, which offers resources for both MLA and APA. You can also use Zotero. Zotero is a free tool which helps you collect, organize, and cite your sources. You can find more tutorial videos on our YouTube channel or visit us online at library.seu.edu.
Okay, so if you type how to avoid plagiarism, you will find so many videos. Just in order to add some animation to this presentation, I thought that this will be helpful for you all. So to avoid plagiarism, yeah, am I audible? Hello? Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible. We will continue, sir.
Okay, thank you. So in order to avoid plagiarism, use online tools to check for plagiarism. There are so many apps and softwares which will help you in order to find out and remove those words, and then provide links you have referred to as well, and then write in your own words. This is one way to avoid plagiarism. And then highlights of UGC's draft legislation on plagiarism for students and teachers. This is why there has been a directive issued by UGC. That is why we have been thinking about plagiarism and all. When I was pursuing my PhD in 2004, such regulations were not there, and even we were at the mercy of our guides. So it used to take 8 years, 10 years for submission and then getting our PhD awarded. But now UGC has issued directives, and as and how they are facing new challenges, they have been issuing new circulars. And here they have clearly stated that for students and for teachers, the percentage of plagiarism should be somewhere around 10 to 40% for students, whether it may be project, whether it may be a dissertation or thesis. Then the researcher has to resubmit his revised thesis. In 40 to 60% of the content is plagiarized, the student will be deprived of submitting the revised thesis for 1 year. Please make a note of it, especially those who are from India. And then it differs, it changes, the rules change from country to country. And then if plagiarization goes above 60%, the registration of the student will be cancelled permanently. And then for teachers, in case of 10 to 40% plagiarism, the teacher will have to withdraw the manuscript. The teacher will be debarred to supervise master's, PhD or MPhil students for 2 years and will be denied to a single annual increment in case of 40-60% plagiarism. If it's above 60%, the teacher will be suspended or dismissed. This is especially for those who think that what happens. And then plagiarism in India. As per an article, I just quoted that, which says, according to Hindustan Times, it's a very popular newspaper in India. And in 2016, one Vice Chancellor Chandra Krishnamurthy of the Pondicherry University had to quit her job after a prolonged standoff with the HRD ministry following allegations that she had plagiarized large parts of one of her books. Seven Stanford University professors wrote to then President APJ Abul Kalam about Kumon University Vice Chancellor B.S. Rajput on the issue. University of Hyderabad Vice Chancellor Appa Rao Kodil was accused of plagiarizing his thesis for not one but three scientific papers. There are many other examples cited by Society for Scientific Values, New Delhi, in its newsletters. And then I have cited the source as well. And like this, you will find number of examples which can caution you. And then reasons for plagiarism, major cause for research misconduct. So why this plagiarism happens and why it happens so. The first major reason is the lack of professional and personal and professional integrity. And then the second, pressures in the working environment. So some of them, they are forced for promotion or from someone or the other benefit. And then publish or perish in order to sustain, in order to get an increment. People are forced to involve and indulge themselves into such activities. And then failure to sanction misconduct. So because they have been habitual offenders and no one has caught hold of them, they keep on doing it. And one more quotation, paper cutting it is. In fact, I will not go into it. I will just read out the heading of it. Turnitin software for all varsities to check plagiarism in research. So it again differs from university to university, and other than Turnitin, there are so many softwares. And the major one is Orkund and then Turnitin, which UGC is prompting. And then this is the page which looks like, and it says the Plagiarism Spectrum. It identifies 10 types of plagiarism based on findings from a worldwide survey of nearly 900 secondary and higher education instructors. And mind me, the number is shooting up every passing second. And each type has been given an easy to remember moniker to help students and instructors better identify and discuss the ramifications of plagiarism in student writing. It is not intentional, it may happen accidentally as well. So one has to be very, very careful. And these are the things. Clone means submitting another's work word for word as one's own. And when you, for example, if you put your paper into that software, these are the things which it will come out with. If it is clone, it means that submitting another's work word for word as one's own. And if it is Control-C, it contains a significant portion of text from a single source without alterations. And then find, replace, changing keywords and phrases, but retaining the essential content of the source. So some of them they just go there and then they replace word, synonym or antonym. So for those are also been caught hold by this software. And then remix phrases from multiple sources made to fit together. And then recycle, borrows generously from the writer's previous work without citation. Hybrid, combines perfectly cited sources with copied passages without citation. Mashup, mixes copied material from multiple sources. 404 error, include citations to non-existent or inaccurate information about sources. Aggregator, and so on and so forth. So this plagiarism detection ensures that it is a pure work and a genuine work. So the process of locating instances of plagiarism within a work or document, and it can be either manual or even sometimes software assisted as well. And then manual detection required human labor and memory, not feasible while comparing many sources. And a software assisted detection, always checking vast collections, more effective than manual detection. So it's very, very difficult in order to detect manually. But now there have been advanced softwares which can easily find out and point out the source from where if you have not cited it, will point out from where you have taken it. And then plagiarism similarity detection software. So you please make a note of it, and then before sending your project or your thesis, dissertation, or research paper, you please ensure that you have tested it in one of these softwares in order to ensure that your work is an original work. As I told earlier, it is not intentional, but sometimes accidental things happen, and man is he errs. So there are Turnitin, which has a write check option as well. And then I think authenticate. Instead of authenticate, authenticate means electronic authenticity. And then Urkund, being provided by InflipNet to all universities. You just go to Show the Ganga and you will get a link for that. And then Drillbit, Paper Ratter, Copyscape, Grammarly, PlagScan, like that. There are so many softwares, and day by day the number of those commercial softwares is rising. And then free, there are two softwares which are free, which you can use it, but I won't guarantee to what level you can bank upon. One is that Plagiarism Checker X, and then Desktop Plagiarism Checker, and then the open source is Wiper. I hope you are very much well acquainted with these softwares. And then online plagiarism detection services, some of the softwares in which you can just put some of the paragraphs, some portions of your paper or project, and then you can identify. One is a small sotools.com, plagiarismsoftware.org, doublychecker.com, plagiarisma.net, plagscan.com, quitex.com, scanmyessay.com, and so on and so forth. A very recent one is in the year 2017, UGC had given a public notice on this, wherein it had constituted a committee of experts to look into issues of plagiarism and recommend some institutional mechanism to eliminate the scope of this menace in higher education system in the country. The objective of the regulations is to promote academic and deterrence from plagiarism by developing systems to detect plagiarism. And then in the notification, as I told you time and again, as and how they are facing challenges, they are issuing new guidelines. And then in 2018, they have mentioned, in order to determine standards of higher education and for the partial fulfillment of award of degrees at master's and research level by a student or a faculty or a researcher or a staff in the form of thesis, dissertation, and publication of research papers, chapters in books, full-fledged books, and any other similar work reflects the extent to which elements of academic integrity and originality are observed in various relevant processes adopted by higher educational institutions. So therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred and so on and so forth, you can just go through this circular issued by UGC on this date. So you will come to know as what are the developments, what are the initiatives taken by UGC time and again in order to check the plagiarism. Initially, it was 30%, and then now it has come down to 10%. And then this is the continuation of that circular. I will not read it out. And then levels of plagiarism. Plagiarism would be quantified into following levels in ascending order of severity for the purpose of its definition. And it is according to the UGC guidelines, the Government of India. And it differs from country to country. Fine. Level 0, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Similarities up to 10%, minor similarities, no penalty. And then similarities about 10 to 40, similarities above 40 to 60, and then similarities above 60%. So here, penalties and on thesis and dissertation. So what are the legal actions and what are the penalties which are being initiated by UGC? 12.1 penalties in case of plagiarism in submission of thesis and dissertation. Up to 10%, minor similarities, no penalty. And from 10 to 40, such student shall be asked to submit a revised script within a stipulated time period not exceeding 6 months. And then similarities above 40 to 60%, such student shall be debarred from submitting a revised script for a period of 1 year. And in 60%, such student registration for the program shall be cancelled. And penalty on repeated plagiarism, such student be punished for the plagiarism of one level higher than the previous level, so on, so forth. And then penalties in the case of plagiarism in academic and research publications. So similarities up to 10%, minor similarities, no penalty. And then similarities about 10 to 40% shall be asked to withdraw manuscript. And then similarities 40 to 60%, they may be asked to withdraw manuscript or denied a right to 1 annual increment, or they may be allowed to be a supervisor. They may not be allowed to be a supervisor to any master's, MPhil, PhD student scholar for a period of 2 years. So any one of these three can be initiated upon the culprit. And then similarities above 60% shall be asked to withdraw manuscript, shall be denied a right to successive annual increments, shall not be allowed to be a supervisor to any master's, MPhil, PhD student scholar for a period of 3 years. And then penalty on repeated plagiarism and penalty in case where, so you can just download that circular from the UGC official website. And then exclusion also is there. Similarity checks for exclusion from plagiarism. The similarity checks for plagiarism shall exclude the following. The all quoted work reproduced with all necessary permission and on or attribution, all references, bibliography, table of content, preface and acknowledgements, all generic terms, laws, standards, symbols, and standards equations. So these are all excluded from plagiarism. So with this brief information, I conclude. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to such a large gathering. And you can reach out to me at fayyaz@rcub.ac.in, and this is my phone number. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a wonderful session with so much of information. I truly believe all the participants will take something back to this home session. For the Q&A, sir, I'm just waiting for questions to pop up. We have a question from Dr. Michelle Philip. How do we devise newer topics for research when there are so many topics available already?
Yeah, that's why, ma'am, we have to identify a particular area, a particular problem wherein work has not been done upon. So that is the one safe way of approach. And you have to ensure that whether work has been done on that area or not. And that has to be the purpose of doing research. Not for the sake of research, but in order to contribute something to the existing knowledge of information. And we see in COVID-19, so scientists and all, they are fighting so much in order to find out a new vaccine. That is where we researchers from humanities and social sciences, the society banks on us a lot, because we have to, our problem is something else. Those scientists, they will be finding vaccines and all in those their labs and all, but here we have to address the problems of the society. And I also believe that literature gives an escape from all these things, and then it gives faith to people in order to cope up with such situation. And you have to think upon such areas. And now in the last week, I had spoken on COVID-19 and the possibilities of research in COVID-19. So now we are post COVID-19, we have been facing so many challenges. And especially we as teachers also, we are facing so many problems and social, cultural, economical, all these things. And we have to find out in which area of literature or in which particular area the light has not been thrown upon. That is why I told you plagiarism can be accidental as well. It may not be intentional. So that's why we have to ensure that some work has been done upon or not. Or if it is being done, you have to argue that it has not been discussed or from this perspective or from that perspective. And it doesn't mean that if work has been done, you have to accept it. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
I hope I have answered you.
The next question, sir. What if in case we find someone has plagiarized a work, and what from there should we do?
Yeah, that's what I told you. I have given you a list of softwares. Before sending it, you have to ensure that you put it in those softwares and you check it once before sending it somewhere else.
So the participant is trying to ask, if somebody else has plagiarized our work and we come to know that, what can we do in that case?
You can report it to the UGC. You can report it to the UGC. Yeah, so that's why you visit Ganga, you will go get all the details over there, what has to be done. So because they have created one database, a huge database, whoever submits their thesis. Just a minute, I'm running short of battery. So when it comes to research and then thesis or dissertation, it has been put into show the Ganga, wherein you can just go there and you can find out. And then now there is one more show this Shuddhi. There is one particular website wherein you have to post your synopsis. And there you will come to know that whether it is a new work or not. And after ensuring that it's a new work, you can continue. When it is about MPhil or PhD. And as far as research papers are concerned, if you say, again, UGC has issued a new directives in the year 2016, since 2016. Before that, if we had published our articles in any of the ISSN, ISBN numbers, it was acceptable. And after that, UGC said that, no, it should be peer reviewed or blind peer reviewed. And now they have again changed those rules as well. And then now they have categorized into 4 areas. They are list 1, 2, 3, 4. So in A grade is Scopus and Springer. And then it is a purely they judge on quality base. And of course, I have heard some news about some of the Scopus and Springer publishers demanding money and all, but don't fall in that trap. Of course, they may take some time in order to, once if you submit your paper, some of the standard publication houses, they take at least somewhere around 1 year to respond to your paper. So, but it should not deter you. So that's why don't rush. Most of them are involved into a rat race kind of a thing. Don't go by quantity of your papers. Go by your quality of your papers. Got it. And for especially for assistant professors, if they have 8 articles published in either A, B, C, D, any of these, that is more than sufficient for you to get for eligible for associate professor. And then you have to please ensure you have to make all these groundwork before writing a paper.
Yes, sir. We'll have another question. What if I cite or quote something that I have published in a previous paper of myself? Since it's an idea that I have, should I still cite that?
Yeah, you have to cite. You have to cite. There's no harm in it.
We're getting so many questions, sir. Just a minute.
Yes, please.
So you said that in case if somebody from within the country has plagiarized our work, we can report it to the UGC. what if it's a foreigner or somebody outside the country who you found to plagiarize the work?
The same criteria follows, ma'am. You can just go to from if you find out. So from which source you will come to know that it has been copied. So there, all the information will be displayed, and you can just report it to that particular university or to that particular author from where it has been copied.
Is there any provisions available to check if our area of research has already been done by somebody so that we can avoid repetition of work which are of the same kind?
That's what as I told you earlier, even when I was doing my PhD, I was also not aware whether work has been done upon this or not. So we used to just blindly depend on our research guides. And we used to discuss, and we used to carry upon our work. At that time, one newspaper used to come from UGC, which was called as UGC News. Now also there is a bulletin which comes fortnightly or maybe once in a month. And other than that, since we have so much advanced technology, as I told you earlier, show the Sindhu or Shuddhi. There you can just see whether work has been done upon it or not. And then you have to be very much be in the, you should ensure, that's it, whether work has been done or not. That's why you have to keep yourself updated. And just don't try to work on all the areas. Try to identify and put your energy into one particular area of specialization. If you're interested in post-colonial literature, you just put your efforts, everything into post-colonial literature. Just because one conference is going on on linguistics, I want to go to that place, my friend is going, I'm also going, I want to go. No, please don't do that. And one paper in a year is more than sufficient. And just calculate it for 8 years, you will have 8 papers, fine. And you will be eligible for your associate professorship. And then one more thing, the quality of your paper will ensure you to go for post PDF, postdoctoral fellowship. Based upon your research articles, the quality of your research papers, they will provide you FDP. If your papers are below, you will not get a chance at all. And then if you do your PDF, then you will have all the opportunity to go to IIT. And that is the prerequisite over there. And most of them, they want to do their PhD without knowing anything about research. And this is what I thought that I should throw a light upon these areas in order to make these academicians to know what is what and how it should be. So before writing a paper, before approaching a project or a thesis or dissertation, please ensure that whether work has been done upon that area or not. And how to identify, that is what I told you. You visit Shodh Ganga, and then you visit in MOU signed by UGC, you will find number of universities which are tied up with UGC, and the list you will find over there. And you can go to their websites also, and you can find out whether work has been done or not. And then you consult someone who is a scholar in that particular area. Got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. That will be it for the Q&A, sir. That was undoubtedly a wonderful session, like I told before. I thank you on behalf of the organizing committee and appreciate all the efforts, kindness, and generosity you've put in to share all the knowledge you have with the teaching fraternity who are listening to the session today by Zoom and YouTube, and who will in future watch it by YouTube. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll get in touch with you shortly, sir.
Sure, please. Shall I leave the room?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, dear participants, the link to post your attendance cum feedback for session 12 of day 6 has been posted both in YouTube and in Zoom chat box. You may find the same over there. And this link will be active for another 1 hour from now, within which you'll have to fill Since after 1 hour, this form will be closed for accepting further responses. You may copy the link and leave the meeting, or you may leave the meeting after filling your details in the form. We'll meet you for the next session, that's tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time. And since many of you have asked questions regarding the quiz that will be conducted, the link for the quiz will be shared with you after the valediction session that will be on the afternoon of tomorrow, 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Any other questions can be mailed to englishlit@vetias.ac.in, which I have typed and entered in the chat box. Thank you for your participation. We'll meet you tomorrow. Until then, goodbye. This meeting will be terminated in another few minutes.